Check, check, check. 1, 2, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Thank you so much for joining me. And hello to all the fabulous, wonderful people out there. You guys are awesome. Have I ever told you that? I love my streamers. Y'all on YouTube are the best. So, we are going to be editing Chapter 10, Dealing with Disappointment. Be forewarned, this one is a rough one, but it's good. It's still good. Oh my gosh, this is like way zoomed out. Let's zoom this in real quick. Zoom in, zoom in, zoom in. Much better. Still crazy far out though. There we go. So, dealing with disappointment, and as you can see on the screen, we are looking at a pretty long chapter. Let's take a look here. Tools. Word count. We're looking at 4,163 words in this chapter, which is a decent word count for a chapter, I would say, right? If you haven't had your coffee yet, I advise you to do so. Okay. I went back to Max. Now remember, this is about jail, right? This guy is in maximum security, closed custody. And so when we talk about Max, we're talking about maximum security. I went back to Max after 25 days of blissful, wonderful, ecstatic jail dorm existence. It was right before lunch when they started to move people. By mealtime, we were 20 very confused inmates. I heard Deputy Stone telling a few of the guys who were worried about moving that they were going to a dorm, just like this one, said Autist. They must need this dorm for the girls again. Leprechaun shifted in his seat. Then why didn't they move all of us? I gave a low sigh. Because they don't have enough room for all of us. So they're gonna send us that are left back to Max. So they're gonna send those of us who are left back to Max. So they're gonna send those of us who are left back to Max. They chose us because we have the worst charges. No way, Leprechaun burst out. No way they're sending us back to closed custody. Not after we did everything right. We proved we could be in a dorm setting. But that's exactly what they did. After lunch, we were all told to pack up our shit and be ready to move. In groups of 6, we were marched down to maximum security closed custody hellhole. Da, 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 da. None of us were happy, but Leprechaun was especially pissed. This is fucking stupid. The sergeant escorting the group perked up at that. What's stupid? This, moving us back, when we've done nothing wrong. The sergeant puffed out his chest The fuck you think this is? You think it's terrible? You think it's so terrible. I'll show you fucking terrible. I can move you somewhere you'll really suffer. Is that what you fucking want? Quit bitching. We were shocked and yet somehow not surprised that a sergeant would yell and cuss at an inmate in such a public fashion. Leprechaun would later file a grievance about the sergeant's conduct. Of course, our testimonies weren't taken, and none of the deputies said the sergeant did anything wrong. As an inmate, we quickly learned not to expect much from internal investigations dealing with correctional staff. Investigations when they were dealing with correctional staff. Dun dun dun. Oh no. Coffee's just about done. Everybody else have a good cup of coffee in the morning? If not, you really should. Helps you out, makes everything good and tasty. Wakes you up, ready to write, ready to edit. Let's get back to work. Arriving at our old pod, we were given orange uniforms again and assigned new cells. My new housemate was known as Mafia. as Mafia, thanks to his heavy Italian heritage. Hey, I'm Italian. You looked at the guy and knew he was related to Al Capone. But I wasn't in the mood to get to know a new cellie. I was pissed. I'd done everything right. I'd proven myself minimum/medium security, throwing me back in maximum even though I'd followed all the rules and been a model inmate was a huge ball of shit to the face. Becca, I don't care that you don't like coffee. Coffee is delicious. What do you drink then if you don't drink coffee? Do you drink tea? Do people drink tea instead of coffee? No. Coffee is the way to go. Coffee is the way to go. Do you drink tea? You have to let me know now. What do you drink if you don't drink coffee? I turned over, closing my eyes. Well, Mafia said as we laid on our separate bunks, it's always good to eat a little shit every day so you don't lose the taste of it. I turned over, closing my eyes. I didn't want to eat shit. I wanted to wear blue again. I wanted all the amenities I now knew existed. In many cases, it'd have been easier. It'd have been easier. Is that how I want to say it? Or it could be it would have been. It would have been easier. There we go. That's how we're going to say it. I typically drink a Coke or green tea. I mean, Coke is good, but not in the morning. I don't drink soda in the morning. It's a little too bubbly before noon. In many ways, it would have been easier if I'd never been in the dorm. If Max was all I knew with no comparison. They even confiscated my noodles and pop card. Why couldn't we enjoy these in Max? No microwave? Okay, I'll let my top ramen soak in hot water for hours if needed. My pod, my life, didn't have to be nearly as bad as it was. You don't like it? Don't come to jail. That's what a CO said to me when I tried to explain why temperature checks should be done at an earlier time. This would be reiterated by several deputies on different occasions. They seemed to think we all chose to come to jail, and maybe if it was terrible enough we wouldn't come back. This, of course, was a huge fallacy. Jail was bad enough without anyone making it worse. Not being around family and friends was bad enough. Missing my daughter's birthday was bad enough. Missing Christmas, Thanksgiving, the birth of my nephew was bad enough. Jail could be a college dorm room with pizza in the oven, and I'd still long for my freedom. As far as coming here is concerned, not all of us chose to be arrested. There is such a thing as being in the wrong place at the wrong time, or in many cases, trusting the wrong person. But regardless, most of us aren't convicts. We haven't been convicted of any crime. We're simply awaiting our chance, our right to defend ourselves and clear our names. A fact the CEOs seemed not to be aware of. Not aware of at all. I'm not saying there aren't pieces of shit in Max. There are. Druggies, thieves, and abusers who keep leaving and returning to incarceration are just a few. Are realities. That's much stronger sentence. Remember, a smaller, shorter sentence is a stronger sentence. Druggies, thieves, and abusers who keep leaving and returning to incarceration are realities. But that in no way excuses the deputy's behavior or means they should treat all inmates the same. Our situation is shitty enough without shitty treatment from the COs. Speaking of shit, our situation in Max turned a lot shittier thanks to COVID. What was once 4 cells out at a time for 3 hours, was now 3 cells only out for 2 hours. Losing that extra hour was felt more than anything. 2 hours after visits with family, showers, and trades left little to no time for cards. Temperature checks were done twice a day, once in the morning and once at night. Some deputies did temp checks as early as 7:30 in the morning and 11:15 at night. If there was one thing we didn't need, it was another interruption to our sleep. If there's one thing we didn't need, comma, it was another interruption to our sleep. Little to no REM sleep. Little to no REM sleep was starting to get to me, especially after I got used to sleeping for 7 uninterrupted hours in the dorms. Green tea. I've never been much of a green tea drinker, or a tea drinker in general. Maybe I'll have to learn how to make it taste good. I mean, it's just leaves and hot water, right? Hot water, and then you take the little packet and you go up and down. That's how you do it. I think that's how you do it. Do I need to push this back more? Is that better? Bum, ba, ba, so you can see me while I edit. See me at work while I work on the job. What is this? I wrote a grievance regarding the timing of temp checks. The response I got back ignored what I said and told me that temp checks were required. Grievance responses rarely address the actual issue and never seem to lead to any real solutions. Add some honey. Becca, okay, so in order to make good green tea, I need to add honey? I can do that. I am a sucker for honey, let me tell you. COVID would continue to affect our lives through ongoing court date suspensions, no kitchen staff, leading to plain sack meals that were far below par, no inmate workers, causing a lack of laundry, towels, and sharp pencils, and forced COVID testing. If you didn't want to get tested, you were threatened to be taken to the hole, and you'd be forcing your cellie to join you. If they couldn't get what they wanted by sending you to the hole, they threatened your cellie, because you might have infected them with COVID, regardless of the test results. Regardless of their test results. Regardless of their test results. There we go. Stronger sentence, people. And we added a comma. That's how you edit. Knock, knock, knock. Hey, Trevor. It was Leprechaun. Dude, this is retarded. We were just playing cards together in the dorms. Now we're suddenly too dangerous to be out together. We have to be sectioned off into these small groups and stay trapped in a cell for 22 hours every day. This is bullshit. He was right. Way I saw it, there was no reason we couldn't open all the cell doors and turn the pod into a dorm. Or if they didn't want to let us all out at once, the bottom half and top half of the pod could split the day. I gave a sigh. It's so stupid. I feel really bad for Mexican. Look at him down there, sitting alone, not able to talk to anybody in his group. In the dorms, they have a blast playing cards and chatting it up. I think everyone's feeling down or pissed. That's why everyone needs to write a letter to the captain explaining why we deserve more freedom and have proven ourselves trustworthy. You think it'll work? If we all write one, he can't ignore it. A sergeant later came and told us the captain received our letters, discussed them, and ultimately decided to ignore them. Gramps and a couple of the other murderers who'd been left behind were excited to see me. Seeing that I wasn't too happy about being back, a few tried to cheer me up with friendly talk, cards, and keeping me occupied. I even got a mayo as a welcome back present. Jail is terrible, but a few friends can really brighten the dark days. All of us back in Mac seemed to be feeling down and depressed. This wasn't anything new. Everyone in jail ends up dealing with disappointment at one time or another. We all dealt with it differently. Mike fractured his hand punching the wall when he found out his girlfriend decided to get engaged to another man. Sal broke down crying when he got... Let's trade these up a little bit. Sal broke down when he got 11 years prison time. Greg tried to kill himself by eating 100 apple seeds when he found out his wife and kids had moved out of state, sold the house, and put a protection order against him. Life is full of disappointments, and jail is full of disappointed people. Full of disappointed people. Panda was a funny guy. So if you guys want to picture Panda, imagine Kung Fu Panda. Okay, you've got it? Now imagine Kung Fu Panda was a normal guy. If Po was human. There you go. That's what Panda looks like. Panda was at my door discussing her feelings. I was kinda enjoying playing psychoanalyst. I think the way you're feeling, the way we're all feeling right now, is completely natural. We all got used to certain freedoms and routines that we're mourning the loss of. It's only natural that we're all feeling tired, sluggish, and not wanting to do much of anything. I could totally play a doctor on TV. Yeah, that's part of why I'm going to talk to MHP. MHP stood for Mental Health Professional. Inmates could request a meeting with one. Going to try and get some feel-good pills? No, I don't want meds to determine my mood, but I hear they can give you a few worksheets and coloring pages. I think something to color might be nice. Calming, you know? I did know. Something to keep your mind and hands occupied. That was different. That was different from the same old reading. For me, that was Sudoku. For others, crossword puzzles and word searches. For Panda, it was coloring. I thought if this worked, I might meet with mental health too. Getting some puzzle pages sounded good, and it might be nice to talk with someone about what was going on in my life. Panda met with a woman from MHP the next morning in the cold little meeting room. He was in the room for about 10 minutes. 2 minutes after the meeting, COs came in and hauled Panda out of the pod. We knew it was serious when deputies came back and took all of his stuff. What if the deputies came and took all of your stuff? It was bad news. It immediately meant, oh, he's not coming back. Not coming back anytime soon, anyway. 4 days later, Panda returned and told us his horror story. We just started talking. I said my day was going okay, but I was running out of things to do. So could I get a coloring book? She started asking me if I ever felt depressed. I said no. Was I suicidal? No. Never even thought about suicide? No. Don't have any idea how you might try to kill yourself? No. Nope. I don't want to hurt myself. But if I did, would I know how? Don't have any idea how I might try and kill myself. There we go. I fixed the sentence, guys. I did it. I did the thing. Well, I mean, anyone could use a sheet to hang themselves. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is where Panda fucked up. He trusted and talked freely with a mental health professional. Because of that, he was taken away to get his butthole examined instead of getting a coloring book. Handcuffed, Panda was taken down the hall into a private room with 6 deputies. They made Panda strip completely naked, bend over, and cough. All 6 COs stared at him before one took a closer look at his booty hole. I'll spare you the gruesome details. Comma. I'll spare you the gruesome details. We added a comma. Panda was then not depressed. He was depressed, but this is where they dressed him. Panda was then dressed in a padded smock. Basically, a small vest, leaving him completely naked from the waist down. He was then placed in a padded suicide watch cell, where using the restroom meant shitting in a hole in the floor that stunk up the entire cell. With deputies coming to check on him every 15 minutes, Panda was incredibly embarrassed of his exposed cock, balls, and ass for all to see. With nothing to do, no pages to color, not even a book to read, Panda passed the day singing to himself and slowly feeling like he was going insane. If he didn't want to kill himself before, he sure did now. The first night was especially hard on Panda. That jolly short and wide man, always quick with a joke or a good-natured smile whenever I needed it, was hurting. He lay down on the padded floor and wept himself to sleep. Without an ability to trust MHP, we inmates that's a weird way to say that. Let's go without unable to trust MHP. There we go. It's a much more normal way to say that. It's a normal way to speak. Unable to trust MHP, we inmates were left to cope with our depression as best we could. For most guys, coping meant eating a ton of junk food and masturbating in copious amounts to whatever porn. For most guys, coping meant eating a ton of junk food and masturbating in copious amounts to whatever porn they could get their hands on. Several guys also took out their depression on others, channeling their feelings into violence. Others still took a lot of drugs and slept all day. That one right there, not a bad way to pass the time. If you have to pass the time, you might as well sleep through it, because jail isn't fun. So do drugs, fall asleep, and then when you wake up, you go free. It's not a bad way to go. Thinking about this made me second guess my opinion of all the wannabe rappers, poets, and artists. They were doing things to further and practice their artistic or musical abilities, even if those abilities were completely non-existent or imaginary, birthed on illusion and grandeur. Who was to make fun of the rapper who tried to talk so fast he was speaking in tongues? Or the artist whose portraits all looked Picasso and the hands were also always drawn 2 sizes too small? Who was I to tell the singer not to quit their day job just because they couldn't carry a tune in a bucket? Or ask the artist if they got the picture in the mail from their 3-year-old kid? At least they were setting their mind to something, even if that something was a hopeless pursuit that most assuredly would never amount to anything at all whatsoever. Myself, I'd written a few short stories and some Dungeons & Dragons spell ideas for my game I dungeon mastered. Hashtag super nerd. But I hadn't made a real goal of writing. I decided then and there I'd focus my energy in jail on writing. I started creating a tabletop RPG game manual. The creative process, as I've come to understand it, is a series of emotional ups and downs, full of doubt and self-deprecation. Let's now talk about the process that one goes through when creating things. The creative process is as follows. The creative process, as I've come to understand it. Step 1. The creative process, as I've come to understand it, is a series of emotional ups and downs full of doubt and depression. Instead of let's just do the creative process. Step 1. This is a great idea. Step 2. This is fun to work on. Step 3. That doesn't quite work. Step 4. Nope. Step 5. I'm running out of erasers. Step 6. I've run out of erasers. Step 7. I'm running out of paper to throw away. Step 8. I've run out of paper to throw away. Step 9. I've sold my next 2 meals to Bubba for more erasers and paper. Step 10. I'm now a starving artist. Step 11. This sucks. Step 12. I suck. Step 13. I'm going to live out my life as the lowest of the low, a school janitor. Step 14. Realizing I can't work at a school if I leave jail as a convicted felon. Step 15. Rereading my work and deciding there might be some entertaining parts. Step 16. Returning to step 1. Even with the ups and downs, I finally felt useful, like I was doing something worthwhile with my time in jail. I was practicing and becoming a better writer, and maybe I'd leave jail with something I could use after my release. I just wished I could use something other than short golf pencils to write with. Finishing the gaming manual I titled The Huntsman was a huge confidence booster and led to me writing a dozen short stories, over 100 fantasy stories, over 100 fantasy story outlines. There we go. Outlines. And 2 memoirs, including this one. Everyone needs something to look forward to or something to do to feel useful. Considering myself and my time valuable again did a lot to keep depression at bay. My days had meaning once again. Writing also gave me something new to talk about with family and friends. Too many jail conversations went, "Hi, Mom." "Hi, sweetie. How are you?" "I'm all right. How is it in there?" I mean, it's jail. Anything new?" No, everything here pretty much stays the same, and I can't talk about a lot of the stuff here when I know the COs are listening to the phone call. Oh, well, food any better? I got a ketchup packet today. Okay, bye. Click. Mom? I found it's usually best to focus on asking them about their lives. They had a fancy fridge with plenty of ketchup in it, entire bottles. They didn't know how special one ketchup was to me in close custody. They didn't know how special one ketchup packet was to me in close custody. It's true, one ketchup packet is a lot. You can one packet of ketchup, one little packet of ketchup when you're in jail can totally change the food. Absolutely make a terrible meal something tolerable. It's like Mary Poppins, right? A spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down. Same thing. Same exact thing right there. I found it's usually best to focus on asking them about their lives. Oh, I read that. Okay, we're editing. But writing gave me something to talk about. I started mailing my stories to them. Stories to them to read. And we talked about those. Let's cut that out, because a shorter sentence is a stronger sentence. I started mailing my stories to them to read. I was also able to ask for their support by sending me books on writing. I was also able to ask for their support. Asking them to send me books on writing. The people who cared about me seemed happy that they could do things to make my time in Max better, and were excited to know I was making the most of my days. We both got a lot more out of our video visits. My squirrel, don't lie to me. Where did you hide that nut? I gave a smile from my bunk. Mafia had been coming up with his own versions of popular songs all week. A few were actually pretty good. Rape city bitch, rape city bitch, rape city bitch, rape city bitch, 10, 10, 10, 12-year-olds are a victim's bitch. Dude, that's terrible. Well, it's not like anyone outside the cell will ever hear it. You, the reader, didn't hear it, technically. I suppose you guys did, TikTok and YouTube, but what can you do? What would you do for a Klondike bar? Knock, knock, knock. Leprechaun was at the door. Did you see this bullshit? He said as he slid the local paper under my door. On the front page, there was what we'd all... You love that song? Good, I'm so glad you like that song, Becca. Okay, wait. Do you like the rap about the Rape City? Or do you like the My Squirrel? That's an important distinction right there. My squirrel, don't lie to me. Where did you hide that nut? For those of you who don't know, the original is my girl, don't lie to me. Where did you sleep last night? Yep, see? Comes around full circle. Did you see this bullshit? He said as he slid the local paper under my door. I like the original Rack City. Rack City. Rack City, bitch. On the front page, there was what we'd all been waiting for. An article about our county's court system. The article talked about the backlog of cases, but it did little to talk about the legality of what the courts were doing by ignoring our trial rights. It also didn't talk about the COVID outbreak being inside the jail, going on inside the jail, or other inmates' lives, or how inmates' lives had been made so much worse thanks to the virus. Whoa, they're missing a few things. Of course they are, Leprechaun raged. The newsmen get their news from the government, who are in charge of the jail. They don't want to risk losing their sources. The media won't write what makes the government look bad. They're just waiting to gurgle the counties down their long bird necks. I thought Leprechaun's response was a bit extreme, but I did feel people should be made aware of what was happening. I started to write a response to the article, and boy gee golly, did I feel good. I had become an activist, informing the public of injustices within the justice system and local jail, hidden from everyday citizen scrutiny. I was making a difference. I was making the Department of Corrections, thus my community, my county, and the world a better place. I was basically Gandhi. The local paper wrote me a nice email saying they'd send me my information to the proper editor. Nothing ever came of it, but I still felt good to do something. I started writing letters to the editor on a regular basis, and had my family send email updates to all my friends. So, at least a few people were now informed of the injustices I was forced to endure. I was just like Rosa Parks. With selfless activism in mind, this was in no way to selfishly better my environment. I started writing messages to the jail about the staff, COVID restrictions, and food. Realizing all inmates' requests were brushed off with short responses that never really addressed the issue, such as kosher meals have been planned for the foreseeable future, when I asked about the nutritional aspect of value of a kosher meal. When I asked what the traditional value of a kosher meal is, I started having family call into the facility, and when appropriate, the health department. I was a new Attila the Hun. A few of my concerns, such as food being served cold, were eventually addressed. Unfortunately, there was no way of knowing if my messages caused the change or if they happened on their own. I liked to think what I did might be making things better. Just the possibility of what I did making a difference felt good. Like Martin Luther King, I had a dream, and I would continue to be an activist. Like an avalanche, my actions inspired other inmates to do the same. I was leading a revolution. I was a hero, just like Kim Jong-un. Dude, check it out, I called my housemate Mafia to the window. At 5'7", he was 5 inches shorter than me, making him the perfect height to look over. Mafia crouched slightly, my nose just above his forehead. We stared out our cell window together. Bang, bang, bang. We watched one of the crazy guys headbutt his cell door over and over and over again. Over and over again. Bang, bang, bang. Ow! Ah! Crazy screamed. That last bang was accompanied by a splatter of blood on the cell window. He'd hit the edge of the window, splitting his head open, shooting blood all over the cell. The COs hauled him to the infirmary and then suicide watch since he'd hurt himself. He returned stitched up, looking like a reverse Friar Tuck with only the top of his head shaved bald. What a goofy little guy, I commented. Oh, look, said Mafia. Boro is coming over to say hi. No, he's not. He knows better now. Knows I don't give jailhouse beggars free stuff. He probably wants to thank you for the juice. I didn't give him any juice. Mafia turned to me with a big shit-eating grin. You sure about that, bud? You didn't. Hey, Trevor, Boro said through the door. Thanks for the juices. That was really cool of you. I stared at him with angry annoyance. He stared back with blissful ignorance. 2 1000s later, Boro opened his mouth again. Got any bread, brah? I am no one's brah. And I turned away to my desk. Boro left, leaving Mafia laughing up a storm. Ah, that was so worth the juice. Why on earth did you do that? Because it was funny as hell. In his squeaky little voice, "Hey, Trevor, that was pretty cool of you, brah." He annoyed you so much. He annoys you so much. Of course he annoys me. He's ugly with a squeaky voice on top of being brain-fried druggy, constantly asking for free shit. He's everything I despise. Well, soon, he'll be your best friend. I'm sure the ongoing joke was incredibly confusing to Boro. He'd get food and juices from me, only to find me in person giving rude one or two word responses, or just flat out ignoring him. Comma! Adding a comma. Boro even sent me a letter in February, asking if I'd be his Valentine, and if I had any kibbles for him. Ugh, everything about Boro was disgusting. I got Mafia back, though. A few words here and there. Soon everyone thought his friend he video visited with was his homosexual lover. I don't think he ever found out I was the one who started that rumor. Such antics became commonplace, but aside from our pranks, we were able to talk, play games, and become real friends. He would also be my longest housemate, living together for 10 months. Dude, look at Gaucho. I came to the window to see Gaucho kneeling in the middle of the pod during the national anthem before the football game on TV started. Oh my gosh, I said slowly. Does he think he somehow is taking a stand for Black Lives Matter? He looks retarded. Everyone's staring at him. He knows he's not Colin Kaepernick, right? No one cares if you kneel, Gaucho. Mafia gave a chuckle. You know what? You know they say Black Lives Matter, but Michael Jackson says it doesn't matter if you're black or white. I laughed before saying, you know, I did one of those ancestry tests. Turns out I actually have a black guy in my family tree. Really? Yep. He's still hanging there. With a pat on my back, we both laughed the day away. Like they say, if you don't laugh, you'll cry. If you don't laugh, you'll cry. With Mafia as my laughing buddy on top of everything else, dealing with disappointment wasn't too hard. I started curbing my expectations, assuming my court date would continually be pushed back. I did my best to ignore the circumstances, and just tried to live my life as best I was able. Like Kunta Kinte, I would persevere. I would persevere. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. That's a good one. That is a good one. There's a story though that I'm not telling where Mafia I got him to stop sending Boro over because I sent Mafia or I told some of the guys in a couple houses down that basically that Mafia was gay. Yeah, couple. I sent him over to a house, and they had already heard the rumor, so they asked him about it, but he didn't know. So yeah, it was funny. There just really isn't a place to put that in here. Alright, what's the word count on chapter 11? Get strong. Let's take a look. Take a look. Word count 3,968. The word count discrepancies are interesting because I've got some chapters that are sitting at like, you know, closer to 6,000. And then I've got this one that's just shy of 4,000. But it works, and I think it's okay for word count to differ a little bit from chapter to chapter. So, let's get into it. Fat people are disgusting. Leprechaun was at the door complaining to Mafia about his old celly. They smell and fart all the time. I mean, look at that fatso. Fatso was sitting at one of the tables watching TV. His folds of fat draped over his body, making the entire metal seat disappear. I laughed. It looks like the pole is going up his ass. Haha, damn it, it does, replied Leprechaun. Well, said Mafia, that's what 400 plus pounds looks like. Have you guys seen those porn videos where fat women eat a ton of food that guys buy them? The guys are called feeders. Ew, that's gross. I couldn't imagine people being into such a kink. Fat people repulse me, Leprechaun chimed. I don't understand why they always smell like that. Do they all forget to clean under their neck fat? It's probably genetic for him, Mafia said. His mom's probably fat, too. I took my cue. Yeah, when she falls down, no one laughs, but the ground cracks up. I got a few chuckles before Mafia came back at me. You're one to talk, pointing a thumb at me while speaking to the others. I saw this guy crush 2 Swiss rolls between 2 honey buns and eat the entire thing in one sitting. Leprechaun gave a look of surprise. No way. I remained silent during their exchange, knowing there was no defense for the things I'd done. I swear to God. That's like 2,000 calories. Ate it all in under 2 minutes. It's no wonder he farts all the time. Oh, dude, he's an undercover fat kid. He puts peanut butter on Snickers, melts Hershey's chocolate bars to spread on top of the honey buns, and popcorn. I've even seen him crush up Swiss rolls and mix them up into his popcorn. He eats at least a bag a day. No wonder you're getting fat. All the extra desserts he has coming under our door doesn't help either. I felt the need to defend myself. It's not my fault I'm a pinochle god. Leprechaun gave a laugh. It's a wonder you're not 300 pounds. He's on his way, Mafia threw in. With no good responses available to me, I replied lamely, You guys are just jealous of my Greek godlike bod and my chiseled chin. I struck my practiced head, angled chin up, hands on hips, chiseled chin pose. I struck my practiced head, angled... I struck my practiced head angled upwards. I struck my practice head angled upwards, heads on hips, chiseled chin, out pose. There we go. Now it makes sense. Oh, the laughter I heard. Leprechaun was the first to recover. You really think you're God's gift to humanity, don't you? You're completely oblivious to how you really look or what you have a fat double chin right now. Look in the mirror. Do I have a fat double chin? Maybe I do. Hi, Carrie. Maybe I do. I don't know. I'm gonna leave it anyway. Let's keep the editing going. Later that night, as my cellie slumbered, I stood in front of the mirror assessing myself. Moving my chin every which way, I didn't like what I saw. I had a fat neck. I had a double chin. I had a fat face. I removed my XL shirt that was sitting a bit tight to see my fat fold hanging over my waistline. At least it was just one fat fold. I jiggled my belly. When I stopped moving, my tummy didn't. I looked myself up and down, flexed, and fondled my own boobs. I turned to my half-asleep cellmate as he stirred. Hey, Mafia. Was the half-drowsy sound I got back. Mafia. Harumph. Am I fat? Trevor, we were just teasing you. You don't need to be so self-conscious. You aren't fat. I turned back to the mirror, feeling a bit better before Mafia finished his thoughts, adding, You're pleasantly plump. Well, that was that. It was time to get back in shape. That night, I laid on my bunk, planning my return to Greek god status, and wondered how I'd gone so far from it. I knew how it had gone this bad. I had done almost no physical activity for over half a year. Sure, I did a few push-ups at the beginning, a few light workouts here and there, but not consistently. We had no exercise equipment, no weights, not even a pull-up bar. Before I knew it, months had passed. But it was easy to make excuses and tell yourself you didn't have anyone to impress. you didn't have anyone to impress. Don't into didn't. Good edit, guys. Good editing. Good job, YouTube. Well, I did have someone to impress. Myself and all the other inmates. COs, family, and friends I saw on video visits. COs, family, and friends I saw on video visits. And all the other inmates, COs, family, and friends I saw on video visits. Plus, I'd have to eventually stand before a jury. If that jury was sexually attracted to me, then there's no way I'd be found guilty. It was clear that I had to lose the fat. How do you lose the fat? How do you lose fat? You burn it off. That meant cardio. The problem was how to get it. We didn't have any running space. Running in circles in the 20 by 15 foot concrete slab they called a rec yard proved to be ineffective and dizzying. Besides, I had other things to do with my few hours out. And I knew a few inmates who walked miles in their cells for exercise. From the bunk to the door was about 7 feet of walking room, meaning you only had to pace back and forth 754 times plus 2 feet to have walked a mile. While great to get up, move the joints, and get the blood pumping, pacing was hardly the cardio I needed to burn my jelly rolls. Walking a mile only burns about 100 calories. When you consider the diet we were fed was 2,600 calories a day before commissary, walking a mile did little to curb the pod's growing cellulite. I tried running to the door and backpedaling to the bunk. 7 feet was an annoyingly small space for this. I put together workouts where I'd do circuits of burpees, jumping jacks, running in place. It kind of worked. At least I was sweating. Then I discovered the cardio exercise that changed my detained life. Jump rope. Obviously, I didn't have a real jump rope. Half the incarcerated population might give the hanging a try if they got their hands on one. So, I'd just pretend. I'd grab my imaginary jump rope, swing my arms, and jump. After about 10 minutes, I was sweating, fogging up the cell, and feeling great. My calves burned, I was gasping for my old friend oxygen, and feeling like I'd run a mile. It was the perfect exercise. Easy to do, could be done standing in one spot, good for long periods of time, and could be sped up or slowed down depending on the need. In my 10 minutes turned into 15, 20, and I started to feel good about myself immediately. And I started to feel good about myself again. I had more energy, was awake, and alert. My days of reading and writing got a lot more productive. Although it's no wonder I got so sluggish. Stuck in a box with nothing to do but read or sleep on your bunk for 22 hours a day would make anybody sloth-like. Would make anybody sloth-like. Anybody or anyone? Anyone. Would make anyone sloth-like. I started working out, jumping rope like there was no tomorrow, every day consistently. I always planned to exercise an hour before my time out. That way I didn't stink the house. That way I didn't stink up the house too badly before my cellie could escape. It also let me jump right in the shower and leave the cell door open to air out the stench of my greatness. The stench of my masculine musk. Masculine musk. Anybody else out there have a masculine musk when they get going? Yeah. I love a good masculine musk in the morning. Smells like victory. The problem was I wasn't losing weight the way I should have. The way I should have been. Maybe a little bit in the face, but my gut still traveled before my nose. After a month of working out, I was concerned with my lack of progress. Then I took a look at other guys who exercised in the pod. We had fat asses who said they worked out, but we all knew they didn't. Scrawny guys who boasted their push-up numbers, and men who worked out pretty consistently. The problem was, even the men who exercised all the time were muscled fat. And the scrawny guys had been beer bellies without any of the fun alcoholic hoorah. For the answers to why, I only had to look towards our diet. Insert menu. I have a long menu, everything that was enjoyed. Everything that was fed to us while we were incarcerated. So, the problem was clear. The meals were all carbs. Every day we ate biscuits, rolls, and cakes or cookies. Even the main dishes were all pastas, noodles, or potatoes. No wonder everyone got fat. Carbs turn into sugar in our body, and with no way to quickly metabolize it, the sugar is stored as fat. Boy, did people get fat over the months. I decided I wasn't going to be a fat lard. I set myself to getting healthy. I slowly started lowering my carb and calorie intake, trading away all the breads and desserts. It worked, but becoming Jewish really upped my fat loss. Unlike the normal diet, kosher meals had no variety. Every breakfast was 2 hard-boiled eggs, 2 slices of bread, oatmeal, and an apple. Dinner was beans, rice, 2 slices of bread, and an apple. Lunch was the only thing that ever changed, rotating between 2 hard-boiled eggs, a fish patty, or 6 slices of plastic-wrapped cheese. These main dishes were alongside lunches, 2 slices of bread, rice, and yet another apple. So all those apples, that is how you make some really good jail wine. Some hooch. This is where the weight loss started, and once I started seeing results, I got addicted. To speed it up, I traded away my bread and rice, cutting out the carbs. Next was my oatmeal. That was a big ticket item for some inmates. Lastly, I stopped stuffing my face with all the sugary junk off commissary. Results were showing. But if I wanted to get cut, I had to up my metabolism. Step 1 of getting my metabolism going was easy. Drink more water. For optimum hydration, a person should drink half their body's weight in ounces of aqua. To flush out my toxins, get my skin supple, and slim down with bowel movements, I began drinking 2 to 3 gallons a day. I was pissing like crazy, but I had nothing better to do. Plus the toilet was right. But I had nothing better to do. And the toilet was right next to the desk. Super convenient. Along with being 0 calories, water also kept me full, helping me curb my need to snack. But of course, the best thing about water The best thing about water is its healing properties. Water cures everything, even homosexuality. If you're slightly homosexual and you want to cure it, drink more water. It helps. It really does. If you didn't know that, read a book. And if you can't tell that I'm joking, you're too stupid to read this book. I knew sleep was important for metabolism. Along with its added benefits of increasing testosterone, the human growth hormones. I knew sleep was important for metabolism, along with its added benefits of increasing testosterone and human growth hormones. But I already got 8 to 10 hours of sleep a day. Nothing better to do. So I was good there. My last step towards my acquisition of a super metabolism was cardio. In addition to the 15 to 20 minutes of cardio a day, I did 2 minutes of, in addition to the 15 to 20 minutes of cardio a day, I did 2 minutes of cardio every hour for 8 to 10 hours a day. Getting my heart rate beating and blood flowing every hour went a long way towards coming out of max with a beach bod. Last thing I needed to get my sexy self in shape was patience. Persistent consistency. Was patience. Persistence. Last thing I needed to get my sexy self in shape was patience, persistence, and consistency. Once I started, I didn't stop. I didn't have any break or cheat days. I just kept it at it for months, slowly but surely getting my healthy look. Goodbye, jail bod. Inmates would ask me what I'd been doing and jump on the bandwagon. Inmates would ask me what I'd been doing and jump on the bandwagon. Bandwagon, blah, blah, blah. I am not talking well. I clearly need more water. I'm going to take a break real quick and go grab some water, but I have something special for you. I put together a slideshow I think you're going to like. Why do I think you're going to like it? Because the slideshow's kind of cool. Some cool new images in it anyway. I'll be right back, guys. Just got to grab more water. Honey, I'm home. How are we? Oh, you are so fabulous. Thank you so much for being here. Oh, how are you all? So, tell me, was it a hit? Huh? Do you like the slideshow? More interesting than just one picture, right? Yeah? Is the slideshow good? Is it okay? Or is it terrible? Is it awful? Should I never use it again? Which is it? I need to know which it is. I need to know which you like. If you like it or if you don't. Because if you don't like it and you don't say anything, I'm just going to keep using it, and then it's going to suck. The entire thing is going to suck, and it's going to be your fault because you didn't tell me what is and isn't cool. So you should know that. You, as the person watching, should know, is this good or not? Inmates would ask me what I'd been doing and jump on the bandwagon. Then, after a couple weeks, they'd get off kosher and slack on their workouts. Too many people want the 30-day six-pack secret. But there's no such thing. Only hard work over a long period of time will transform you into the beast you were born to be. You liked it, Becca? I'm so glad you liked it. That means so much to me as a person because, of course, my self-worth is dependent on what all of you YouTubers and TikTokers, hello TikTokers, what you guys think. So, knowing that you liked it means a lot to me as a person and as a human being in general. I think I need to get some new photos. I need to get better at graphic design, or it's not even graphic design, whatever it's called. Where you take the picture and you put the words over the picture to advertise something, right? I need to get better at that. I do think that the cover photo for this YouTube turned out really cool. The book with the old-timey white picture on it. I'm into it. I'm getting into it. I'm liking it. So the jailbirds, the jailbirds who were able to stay consistent got on a regular workout and eating schedule, talked about it, and asked questions of other guys who worked out. And most had a celly. It's a long sentence. Let's shorten it up, shall we? Let's put it right there. Most of these guys also had a celly who worked out with them, or at least had a cellmate to nag them into a workout. Come on, move that jelly roll, Mafia yelled from his bottom bunk. Just taking a little breather. I panted from my top bunk, my hands feeling my heart thump out of my chest. Thumping out of my chest, raising and lowering with my chest. My hands. Let's change that sentence up. Let's make it better. My hands rested on my chest, feeling my heart thumping. Thumping as it tried to break through my sternum. What you're doing is being a lazy sack of lard. I turned, looking down at my celly. Laying on his bunk. Says the man with half a honey bun resting on his chest. Hey, you're the one who wants to get healthy all of a sudden. I'm just here to remind you, you ought to be exercising, not growing new fat rolls laying on your fat ass. He was a great workout partner. Day after day, he'd stuff his fat face with candy bars while reminding me to pitter patter, let's get at her, which is exactly what I needed. Shorter breaks meant shorter workouts, meaning I could get more done with my day. His motivation and knowing he knew what I was supposed to be doing kept me going, especially helpful when it came to my hated core workouts. This was especially helpful when it came to my hated core workouts. Laying atop my bunk, comma. Laying atop my bunk, I closed my eyes and sucked in air before undertaking the dreaded bicycle kicks. I did my best to breathe through my screaming abs and ignore the diarrhea that was sure to follow. I'd be glad I did. After several months of working the top and bottom of my stomach with bicycle kicks and reverse crunches, I'd feel the six-pack starting to bulge. It was a look I was excited to show off. "What the hell are you doing?" Mafia blurted. I jumped, startled. Startled, I stammered. I thought you were asleep." "Well, I'm not anymore." Embarrassed, by my cheeks colored. "You weren't supposed to see this." "Well, I'm seeing it." With a sigh, he rolled over. "Decent size for someone your height." He'd caught me. Mafia caught me in the middle of the night, standing shirtless in our cell, flexing in the mirror. I liked what I was seeing. Toned, lean, with a line or two visible across my stomach. Clearly, my new diet, cardio, and exercise were paying off. The disappointment was in the actual size of my muscles. I could get toned, but couldn't build any real muscle mass. For the millionth time, I wished... Let's bring that up. There we go. Combining 2 paragraphs into 1. Because shorter is cleaner, people. For the millionth time, I wished we had weights, or even just a pull-up bar. After a year in close custody, my biceps felt particularly deflated. I tried getting a bunch of heavy books and Bibles, filling my laundry bag and curling them. That turned out to be a great way of ripping apart my laundry bag. Next, I tied my sheets around my mattress. Standing on the stool, I slowly curled my mattress, one arm at a time. After 100 curls, I was losing patience. The mattress weighed close to 15 pounds. That wasn't going to cut it. I knew that to increase my muscle mass, I needed high tension, low rep. 15 pounds wasn't nearly enough, even curling as slow as possible. This search was high muscle strain. Okay, in the search for high muscle strain, the greatest celly of all time was sitting on the ground, holding a towel tight between his hands. I struggled to curl the towel 2, 3, 4 times. "Ah!" screamed Mafia. "I need a break." "A break? I'm the one doing the curling. Hey, this is a strain on my arms too." I gave a loud sigh. Clearly, partner exercises weren't going to be effective. To seek out answers to my muscle mass quest, I turned to books. I started asking around and hoarding all the exercise books I could get my hands on. I tried out every calisthenic and bodyweight exercise program I saw. I tried out every calisthenic and body weight exercise program I could find. The problem is all the programs used a pull-up bar. It was also clear from the kinesiology books that to build muscle mass, I had to change the way I exercised. Everybody who worked out in Max boosted their push-up numbers. I did 100, 300, 500, 1,000 push-ups. Yes, the 90-pound string bean can do hundreds of push-ups with his ass in the air, going fast, with half an hour to rest between sets. Not gonna lie, bursting a push-up god's bubble made me smile. Their little arms struggled as I taught them how to really build mass with slow decline push-ups. 3 sets with only a minute rest max allowed between each set. Diamond decline, wide decline, and half declines were the push-ups to do. For legs, the exercises were one-legged calf raises, and one-legged squats done off the stool. The desire to exercise and get bigger is infectious. Soon, even my silly mafia was working out. I was putting together different exercise routines for different bodies, and it was working. People were getting bigger and looking good. We had our own little exercise community. The only problem was there were still muscles being ignored. When I couldn't find any books with the answers, I turned to my loving family. When you're locked up, a support system on the outside can make life a lot better. After my inquiry, my family started sending in books on dynamic strength, isotonics, and late bodybuilder Charles Atlas. With hammer curls, across the body rows, and lateral presses, we didn't need weights to bulk up. As weeks turned into months, my arms started to pop. I was having fun combining calisthenics and isotonic exercises into my own jailhouse no equipment needed workout program. Much better. Look at that, just a little bit of editing and everything looks so much cleaner. Exercises into my own jailhouse no equipment needed workout program. I'd give it to the guys and see what they thought. Mafia and I, we were killing our workouts every day. What's wrong with your shoes? I looked up to see Deputy McGruff staring down at me. I followed his gaze down to my orange plastic flip-flops before responding. Looks like the lip's a bit torn. Why are you destroying our property, tearing up our shit? I tried my best to keep the "oh my god, are you kidding me" sass out of my tough voice. I'm tearing up anything. I'm not tearing up anything. I've had the same flip-flops since last December. I've been working out a lot lately and they're just getting worn out. Yeah, right. Working out, bullshit. If I see the next pair torn up, comma, you're going to be in serious trouble. Gotta add the comma. It's how you do it. It's how people do it. It's how you live life. Oh, and thank God for water. My throat is getting dry. I need to get better at keeping lozenges. Maybe coating my throat with something will help. I don't know. Instead of just drinking water. I remained silent as I was handed my fresh kicks. Mafia would need to get his sandals replaced a few months later, comma, and he'd be given no grief about it. Some CEOs are simply dicks to be dicks. Some CEOs were simply dicks to be dicks. Once I forgot this fact, I'd shortly be reminded of it. Replacing my face in the mirror with McGruff's, whenever I forgot this fact, I'd shortly be reminded of it. Replacing my face in the mirror with McGruff's, I went hard at shadowboxing. I don't consider myself a violent person, but I can understand why inmates target guards and riot. Inmates are already under enough psychological stress and anxiety. Deputies do not seem to understand how easily incarcerated folks can be pushed over the edge. Violence may not be the right solution, but it is an easy and readily available one. Turning my pent-up frustrations into energy for workouts, I was determined to bulk up, get strong, and grow. Staying determined and motivated turned out to be pretty easy in Max, where I had few distractions. Looking at and noticing the subtle changes in my body from week to week was the best motivation for myself. Are you going to put a shirt on? I turned towards Mafia. Don't hate me. The amount you stare at yourself, I'm seriously beginning to question your sexuality. Oh, come on. I'm sure there are lots of guys who would love to suck their own dick. Nope, just you. I gave Mafia my Ken doll smile. You're just jealous my teeth are normal and don't look like a floss. I floss with a shoelace. Oh. Excuse me. There we go. You're just jealous my teeth are normal and I don't look like I floss with a shoelace. With shoelaces. Mafia gave a sigh. How I miss shoelaces. I turned back to the mirror with a grunt. It's true, I missed shoelaces too. It's amazing what you miss when it's all taken away from you. I poured myself a glass of water as Leprechaun came to the window. Ooh, hey LeBron, Leprechaun shouted. Come see Trevor drink water. It's amazing. Shut up, I said as LeBron came to the window. Mafia gave a smile as he got up from his bunk. Do it. We all want to watch. Whatever. And with that, I downed the cup. Oh my God, said LeBron. I told you, replied Leprechaun. I don't understand, said Mafia. It's just water. Why does the aftertaste face look like you're in pain? Why does your aftertaste face look like you're in pain? I'm just not a big fan of plain water, I explained. It's just so bland. But I'm drinking a lot of it to be healthier. Not used to bland water, Leprechaun said, his voice dripping with mockery. Oh, you poor privileged little Jewish boy. I gave a laugh. Yep, privileged. Another way of saying I'm better than you. Remember that next time you have to clean up the shower jellies. You poor house mouse. Trash cleaning up trash. The conversational banter continued much in the normal way, everyone making jokes at another's expense. We all took the jokes in good humor and moved on. Somehow, we got on the topic of Panda's sleeping habits. He sleeps with his head up, hovering over the pillow, and his legs crossed like a monk, said LeBron. He says he's so flexible from years of wrestling. I swear, he's like a kung fu panda. Feet behind his head and everything. I had to see what they were describing for myself. It did not disappoint. I kinda got jealous of his flexibility. That night, I tried to touch my nose. That night, I tried to touch my toes. That was a humbling experience. Clearly, I hadn't spent much time in max stretching. I hadn't spent much of my time in close custody stretching. That led me to start stretching regularly and study several books on Tai Chi. Study. What am I, a professor? We'll change that to read. That led me to start stretching regularly and read several books on Tai Chi. Tai Chi turned out to be a great slow martial art I could practice in the small space of the cell. Soon my flexibility and balance were better than ever. I've found for myself adding different workout routines like Tai Chi exercises break up the monotony and keep me interested in my physical activity. Anything to keep from getting bored. It's like they say, variety is the spice of life. I've found that adding different workout routines like Tai Chi exercises breaks up the monotony and keeps me interested in my physical activity. Anything to keep from getting bored. It's like they say, variety is the spice of life. Is that how the saying goes? Variety is the spice of life? I don't know, maybe. I don't quite remember. Variety is the spice of life. That's a saying, right? Here, let's Google it. Come on, Google. There we go. Variety is the spice of life. Phrase of variety. New and exciting experiences make life more interesting. Yay, I was right. Okay, variety is the spice of life. That is how the saying goes. And then we go to a quote. Did you seriously order 30 tubes of peanut butter? Mafia asked me right after our commissary delivery. Well, yeah. Mafia stared blankly at me until I continued. You see, to get the most muscle mass, a person should eat between 5 or 8. You see, to grow the most muscle mass, a person should eat between 0.5 or 0.8 grams of protein for every pound they weigh. Okay. Which means I need between 90 and 144 grams of protein daily. Uh-huh. But I'm only getting about 62 grams on fish patty day, only 36 on egg sandwich day. Let's all make these one sentence. And even worse, 24 grams on cheese sandwich day. Oh no, Mafia said with feigned concern. I know, I continued in my upbeat tone, and the Nutrigrain protein bar they sell is $2, and you only get 10 grams of protein. Huh. Whereas the squeezed peanut butter you get 1.1 ounces of peanut butter for 80 cents. 1.1 ounces is just shy of 2 tablespoons, meaning 0.1 ounces is just shy of 2 tablespoons. Let's turn that into 2 sentences, or 1 sentence. Let's combine the sentences with a comma, adding a comma. Meaning it's about 7 grams of protein per squeezed peanut butter. Clearly, the best bang for your buck is to get the protein needed for my muscle growth. Clearly, peanut butter is the best bang. Clearly, peanut butter is the best bang for my buck. Peanut butter is the best bang for my buck to get the protein needed for my muscle growth. Growth. Blah, blah, blah. So, Mafia began. You're going to wolf down 2 or 3 of these a day before or after your isotonic exercises. Pretty much. Best way to bulk up like I want. Peanut butter meets high strain, low rep. You don't do anything small, do you, Trevor? He said without a question mark as he rolled over to go back to sleep. I gave a shrug before moving into sleep myself. I gave a shrug before going to sleep myself. I guess I didn't feel the need to half-ass my time in max, especially when it came to getting strong. Why let no weights or protein shakes get in my way of getting big? Why let no computer or typewriter stand in my way of writing? Time in max doesn't have to be wasted time. Being locked up is what you make of it. Alright, what's our word count now? Our word count is just shy of 4,000. It's pretty good. Not a bad word count for chapter 11. Get strong. Get strong. Chapter 12. Prison or freedom. Dun 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 dun. And this will end up being the last chapter. It's also the shortest chapter we have, mostly because it's not done yet. Word count is only 2,316. You'll get popped in the face once or twice to loosen you up. Make sure to loosen you up. Make you more cooperative. Leprechaun said as he explained how several prison inmates might fall in love with a good-looking new inmate. Or you'll get one good knockout hit in the back of the head when you aren't expecting it. Wake up with some guy's member up your ass. Turn that into one sentence. Or you'll get one good knockout hit in the back of the head when you aren't expecting it. Wake up with some guy's member in your ass. Member up your ass. You'll get an erection, but don't worry. It's just a natural physical reaction to something moving in and out of your sphincter. It doesn't mean you're gay. Everyone laughed and then told a few stories to confirm that yes, it is a natural physical reaction. I knew they were all joking. Rape in prison didn't really happen now that there were so many open homosexuals with condoms ready to go. If rape did take place, it was about the power and control high. It was about sending a message. We only had a few rape claims in county. One was against a tranny, and we were all pretty sure it happened. The second rape allegation they took seriously was a guy who claimed his cellie took his ass. They searched and found semen. However, the allegations only came after he was caught stealing his commissary. Due to size and the fact everyone assumed the cellie enjoyed each other. Due to the size and the fact everyone assumed the cellies enjoyed each other, called them fags without much argument, and witnessed them pounding away in their cell one day, we were pretty sure everything was consensual. In this day and age, he should have gotten a signed romantic contract. Although, under PREA laws, no inmates may have sexual relations, consensual or otherwise, with other inmates. Not something I'd ever have to worry about. Porn in my hand was more than enough for me. The topic of what prison was like had been coming up a lot lately because everyone was taking deals. Jackson, Selly, Gay J, Fat Ass, B, Killer, Andy, Panda, Leprechaun, even Gaucho would all end up taking deals. You can't blame them for taking deals, though. The way the American justice system is set up, depending on how difficult your case will be to prosecute, you'll be offered a deal to plead guilty. This saves the prosecutor's office and the court's money and guarantees a guilty verdict. In their mind, a guarantee that justice is served. In their mind, a deal was a guarantee that justice would be served. Why trust that a jury of normal, everyday citizens, why trust that a jury of normal, everyday citizens are smart enough to make the right verdict when the prosecutor could trade a few years of prison time for a happy ending? For a certain happy ending. Why trust that a jury of normal, everyday citizens are smart enough to make the right verdict when the prosecutor could trade a few years of prison time for a certain happy ending? As a man trying to prove his innocence, a deal can be quite tempting regardless of guilt. Even with a solid defense, there's no guarantee that the jury won't go off script and do their own thing. There's no telling what might happen when those doors close and jury deliberation starts. Most of the guys in Max are looking at 15 to 30 years if found guilty. Several are facing life. You take a guy facing 15, then offer him 3.5 if he pleads out. That's tempting for anyone. Especially when you consider that if their plea agreement lowers the crime enough, he'll receive a third off for good time, for good behavior. Even if you think you have an 80 or 90% chance of being found not guilty, is it worth gambling with such a large chunk of your life on the line? That's the question everyone in Max faced. Clearly most took the deal. In my year and a half in Max, the only person to take their case to the box was LeBron. He was offered a deal for 5 years. He is now serving 15. We all thought he had a good chance of winning. The other reason most of the Max pod was taking deals was because of COVID. Due to the inability to have trials safely, most everyone in Max had already been awaiting trial for over a year. Even once the courts opened back up in March of 2021, we were told they'd only be able to hold one county Supreme Court case at a time, meaning most guys would have to wait another 6 months to a year for trial. You tell someone they have to wait another 6 months in Max months in closed custody for trial, or they can take a deal and just go home after 6 months. Most guys take the deal, and you get to do your time, and they would get to do their time in prison after taking the deal. No more being stuck in a cell for 22 hours a day. In prison, you can get a TV in your cell, a radio, a tablet to play games on. You can get a job, a hobby, take carpentry. You can play ping pong, basketball, kickball. You can wear a real pair of shoes and aren't stuck in the same orange uniform all day. You can walk around outside, feel the grass, and bask in the sun shining on your face. After 18 months in close custody, prison sounded great. After so long in Max, some guys were taking deals to stay sane. When you consider everything alongside the instant relief a man feels in knowing the foreseeable future of his life. When you consider everything alongside the instant relief a man feels in knowing the foreseeable future of his life, comma, you can't blame guys for making the choices they did. The same choice I had to make. I was offered a deal in November of 2020, after being detained since December of 2019, that if I accepted, I would have been sent home to freedom. That if I accepted, would have sent me home to freedom within a week or two. Only problem I had with the deal was I was innocent. Only problem I had with the deal was that I was innocent. How could I plead guilty, be labeled a felon for the rest of my life, losing my rights to vote, hold a gun, having to be on community custody and check in with the sheriff's office? How could I explain to my friends, the business community, my family that I didn't do it even though I pled guilty? How could I look my daughter in the eyes? At the same time, my entire life was on the line. I was gambling with close to 15 years of my life. My ability to play with my daughter, go to work, raise a family. I thought I had a good defense, but a lot was at stake. What pushed me to decide to fight was the injustice I felt. I wanted to fight the system I felt was persecuting me unfairly. In my opinion, my county's prosecutor's office, comma, and the majority of judges have a better safe than sorry mentality. Better safe than sorry mentality. Meaning they'd rather try someone who may... I'll take meaning out of there. They'd rather try someone who may have committed the crime than have a possibly dangerous individual walking the streets. This, of course, is not in line with our nation's long-standing motto, innocent until proven guilty. In my opinion, the prosecutors and judges themselves should have to think the evidence shows a significant likelihood that the accused is guilty before bringing charges forward. The charges should certainly be dropped before trial begins. The charges should certainly be dropped before trial begins if there is a likelihood that the individual is innocent. They should not charges should not be dependent solely on how likely the prosecutor's office to get a deal or conviction. Alas, that isn't how our system facilitates justice in practice. In practice, they prosecute everyone they believe they might be able to convict. With plenty of funding, most people taking deals, and, thanks to COVID, a near limitless time someone can await trial, there's no reason for them not to prosecute everyone they're able. There are also little to no consequences for a prosecutor who loses. If they lose, they can shrug it off, saying the only reason the defendant won was because they lied, and move on to prosecute the next victim. Alleged perpetrator. Understand, I'm not saying most defendants should go free. In fact, the majority of people incarcerated are guilty of sin. However, there are those like myself who, in my mind, should have never been prosecuted, who do not have enough evidence against them to charge them with a crime, and because they choose to fight for their freedom, they are punished with longer time in jail, additional charges, and bigger consequences if found guilty. And because they choose to fight for their freedom, they are punished with longer time in jail, additional charges, and bigger consequences if found guilty. But I was ready to show the community that I wouldn't take this lying down. I wanted to humiliate and make the prosecutor look like the fool she was. And I wanted to make the system rethink the next time they were on the fence about prosecuting a case like mine. I wanted press releases and interviews about my victory. I wanted a trial. One way or another, I was going to finally get out of Max. Dun, 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 dun. This is a lot. This is a lot of editing. Kind of emotional, too. I was first prepared for trial date, insert, Thanks to COVID, our state and local government suspended all jury trials, pushing my date to then, and lastly. I was so excited to find out that jury trials were finally taking place. My trial date was, then the state moved trial again because their detective was out of the state for training. The next date was, then we couldn't find a witness. Was the next date. Finally, everything was ready. No more excuses to push my trial date back. The day before trial confirmation, I was so excited to meet with my lawyer. In that meeting, he informed me that our private investigator was in a terrible accident and couldn't stand a trial. Trial was therefore moved, for the last time, to May 17th. Every time trial was pushed back was another round on the emotional roller coaster. As trial approached, a wave of excitement and nervous stress would crash down on me. A defendant looks forward to his legal troubles being concluded, but the possible life-ruining consequences is enough to drive anyone crazy. The week before trial confirmation is full of second guesses, sleepless, worry-filled nights, and a lot of prayer. Once my court date was moved, a mixture of confirmed relief. Once my court date was moved, every time my court date was moved, comma, a mixture of confirmed relief at not having to face the stressful horrors of trial met the anger of being stuck in close custody with the uncertainty of my future hanging over my head. Trial finally being confirmed for May 17th was a blessing and a curse. Nothing could have prepared me for the stresses of trial. Whoa, said Mafia. You don't look homeless meets hipster anymore. You don't look homeless meets hipster anymore. You don't look like homeless. You don't look homeless meets hipster anymore. After 18 months of growth, the jail finally brought someone in to shave some heads. Not being allowed to ask for a fade, I got a 4 on top and a 2 on the sides. The amount of hair that came off my head could have filled a pillow. Finally, I didn't have to put my unruly black curly hair. Finally, I didn't have to put my unruly black curly hair into a girly ponytail to look clean. After a year of shaggy, terrible hair, I finally didn't look like a dumpster diving homeless degenerate who asked to bum your last cigarette. Who would ask to bum your last cigarette? I finally felt human again. Let's be human again. Let's be human again. No more gay ponytail anymore, I exclaimed while admiring myself in the mirror. Now I'm sure to win at trial. Mafia sat up on his bunk. Because of a haircut? I responded without breaking eye contact with the mirror. Of course, look at me. There are going to be women on that jury. Women with needs. They're going to take one look at me in my sexy black on black slim cut suit with my clean dark hair and go, that boy's looking fine. He couldn't have done it. They're going to see my Greek god chiseled chin. Their panties are going to get wet. And I'm going to get a not guilty verdict along with a few phone numbers. You're so retarded. When you live in a box with the same person for 9 months, you get to the point where it's okay to make fun. It's okay to make fun of each other. You're rude, but not in a rude way. Huh, I said, turning to look at him. Everything I've read said as if the jury wants to fuck you, they'll set you free so they can. Those legal drama romance novels you keep reading are not preparing you for trial. That's what you think. Thanks to those novels. That's what you think. Thanks to those novels, I'll be sure to hold it together when the surprise bombshell witness barges into the courtroom. I'm not going to have any big emotional outbursts that make me look bad. And take a look at that, at this wink I've been perfecting. This twitch of the eye is gonna make the lady swoon. Like the good Lord says, the wink will set you free. Again. R word. Again. R word. I was half joking with him, of course. I wasn't going to actually wink at the jury, and I knew there was a lot of unrealistic drama thrown into those courtroom books. Still, I had my special spicy deodorant conditioner. And hair gel waiting for trial. No matter what anyone says, a man who looks and smells sexy as hell is gonna be found innocent more often than the scary, druggy hobo. My plan for court was to look better than ever. Along with the reading of a lot of courthouse novels, my trial prep consisted of practicing being on the stand with Mafia. I was fortunate to have the greatest cellie ever. He sat listening to me give my testimony for hours and giving me plenty of feedback. Cross-examination practice was difficult for me. You're told to avoid pitfalls. You should only answer the questions asked, use as few words as possible, and answer a simple yes or no whenever able. Any answer that needs revisiting or additional explanation should be expanded on with your own friendly attorney after the enemy is done with their examination. Using few words and not adding additional explanations was counterintuitive to my nature. The part I was good at was keeping a calm, clear head. And taking my time. After all, there's no reason to rush, except to feel the final relief of the dreadful ordeal being over with. All this prep was something close. All this prep was someone close who I could trust was invaluable. All this prep with someone close who I could trust was invaluable, but nothing could have fully prepared me for the harsh realities of standing trial. Dun 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 dun. New scene creation right here. New scene creation. Oh, and another hour in the books. Good job, everybody. Good job, people. Okay. I have to use the restroom YouTube. And along with that, I've got a few... I don't know. This is a fun project, but I think I might want to work on the short story for a little bit. I kind of owe the Patreons another short story soon, so... I will be right back. Enjoy the slideshow. I think the slideshow turned out really good. And enjoy the music. The music sounds great. Doesn't that music sound good? Oh, and look at that. The heart. Yeah, the heart-shaped book. That's how you do it.